Tonight, we're investigating another case of an immigrant apparently grabbed in Colorado and sent to a notorious prison in El Salvador. While the Trump administration insists that punishment is only for the worst of the worst violent criminals, we can't find any U.S. criminal history for this latest man who was disappeared by the government. And in this case, immigration attorneys tell our Angeline McCall there wasn't even a final order for his deportation.
A man once held here at the Aurora detention facility, gone. Now it's the place immigration attorney Monique Sherman is coming for answers.
I'm here to appear as friend of the court for one of the gentlemen who we believe was taken to El Salvador.
Sherman heard that from family and friends of 22-year-old Johendry Hernandez. They saw his name on the list of those deported. Then they saw this photo of him in El Salvador.
Well, it's really important to us to be able to give a voice to people who are not able to speak for themselves.
We weren't allowed to record the court hearing inside the detention facility, where Sherman, with the Rocky Mountain Immigrant Advocacy Network, shared what she knew in court.
The DHS attorney did not indicate anything, actually, about Johendry's whereabouts. Instead, they just repeated a canned line that they had been instructed to say.
Sherman says Hernandez didn't have an order to be removed from the country. The judge didn't ask where he was or why he was sent.
Which was really concerning to me because I think that it really is a miscarriage of justice.
Sherman will share the few answers she learned with family out of state in New York.
So horrible. And honestly, his mother doesn't even know if he's still alive. We have no information.
Sarah Jaffe knows his family personally.
Yeah, it's just heartbreaking. I mean, there's just this real heaviness. It's a combination of grief and terrible fear.
When El Salvador is a fate the Trump administration says is for the worst of the worst, they're confused why Johendry was sent when they can't find any criminal charges filed against him.
They did not expect to have their oldest son, disappeared by the government, essentially.
A situation even hard for immigration attorneys to find out the answers families desperately want to know.
Really hard to see individuals sent to a third country at all with no due process.
We reached out to the Department of Homeland Security about this particular case. They did not respond to our questions about why he was sent with no apparent criminal history or deportation order. Sherman says they are certain that this man did not have an order from a judge to be deported. The Trump administration used the Alien Enemies Act for these 200-plus men sent to El Salvador, including Johendry, and in this case to circumvent what would commonly be considered due process in immigration court.
There's a big move today by the Supreme Court that is going to require the government to try and facilitate the return of somebody that they sent to El Salvador. The highly publicized case of the father from Maryland that they admit they sent there in error.
Yeah, just within the last hour, they're saying that the Trump administration must facilitate his return. They had previously admitted that it was an administrative error that he was deported in the first place. But his case really makes a difference for everyone else's case because the Trump administration had previously said it was impossible to bring anyone back.
Yep.
But if they bring one person back, does that mean that they could bring the others as well? We'll have to wait and see.
President of El Salvador at the White House on Monday. Angeline McCall, thank you very much. Democrats at the state capitol are trying to strengthen the firewall that currently exists between federal immigration enforcement and local policing in Colorado. Democrats have a bill that would restrict what info schools, colleges, and healthcare facilities could share and require them to turn away ICE agents if those ICE agents don't have a federal warrant. Some school districts, like Denver Public Schools, already have a policy to do that. Under this bill, a school or hospital employee who lets immigration agents in without a warrant could be fined. The bill would also require local governments and state agencies to limit the personal information they collect from residents and then share with the federal government. Right now, local law enforcement in Colorado are not allowed to arrest somebody just for their immigration status. This bill would hold state law enforcement, like the Colorado State Patrol, to that same standard. It could make Colorado even more of a target for the Trump administration, which is threatening to withhold federal funding from so-called sanctuary cities and states. Colorado now has some significant new gun control on the way. Democratic Governor Jared Polis just signed a bill into law requiring people who want to buy many common semi-automatic weapons to first take a firearms safety class and get approved by their county sheriff. This law is certainly going to be challenged in court. The law requires in-person firearm safety training and a sheriff-issued eligibility card to buy most semi-autos with detachable magazines. The Democrats who passed the measure say that it reinforces Colorado's ban on high-capacity magazines. We've shown you here that law is skirted by some retailers and ignored by some conservative sheriffs. Democrats also say that controlling who has these weapons may prevent mass shootings. Opponents say this forces people to buy back their gun rights from the government by paying for a training course. They worry it's the first step toward a gun registry.
This bill makes sure that responsible Coloradans can continue to purchase the gun of their choice in the free state of Colorado, and we can make sure that we have a better educated folks in gun sports and hunting.
A lot of questions about how this is going to work. The governor left today's event before taking a question from us or anybody else. Polis did say previously that he wants there to be some sort of scholarship to help low-income Coloradans afford the gun safety classes, which the governor said he doesn't want to cost more than $200. Senator Michael Bennet is expected to announce tomorrow he is running for governor in 2026. That's according to 4 people familiar with his plans. Bennet becomes the instant frontrunner in the Democratic primary, but he's not going to clear the field. Attorney General Phil Weiser is staying in. Bennet and Weiser agree on a lot. Don't expect attacks so much as shade. And Weiser threw some partial shade, some dappled shade at Bennet today, framing him as a Washington guy, while Weiser's been fighting battles here in Colorado. Now, as for fighting, expect them to disagree about the best approach to take on the Trump presidency. Bennet said on this program that he's trying to pick his battles. Weiser stressed here that he's been suing Trump left and right.
If there are people in the federal government who are doing things that harm us in Colorado, whether it's a Democratic president or a Republican president, and what they're doing is a violation of the law, I'll stand up to them and I'll sue them.
And I think that taking the position that you're just going to vote against every single nominee as a way of kind of futilely showing that you're opposing everything that the Trump administration does, I don't think is that strategic approach.
Democratic primary just may decide the next governor of Colorado. Republican candidate lost by nearly 20 points in 2022. Colorado's only elected 1 Republican governor in the last 50 years. An inmate in Colorado charged with killing a fellow inmate could still face the death penalty even though the state banned capital punishment in 2020. Because today, the Department of Justice announced it's getting involved in that case, and it will seek the federal death penalty. This week, a federal grand jury charged Ishmael Petty, an inmate at Supermax in Florence, with the murder of another inmate back in 2020. The DOJ says it will pursue the death penalty if he's convicted. He's currently serving life for killing another inmate at another federal prison in 2002, and he's picked up extra time for attacking prison staff as well. Colorado voters did away with the death penalty in 2022. President Joe Biden placed a moratorium on the federal death penalty the next year. Federal executions saw a surge in President Trump's first term, and his Department of Justice has promised more on the way in the second term. As for Colorado, our last execution here was in 1997. Finding homeowners insurance in our state is becoming more expensive and, in some cases, just impossible. Our Evan Krugel shows us a new program rolling out today, a last resort for people who need insurance.
Most successful salespeople don't say things like this.
My goal would be to not sell a single policy.
But Kelly Campbell isn't a typical salesperson because the thing she's selling is something she hopes nobody ever needs.
You know, I've often said that I hope my most boring day on the job is the day we launch.
That day is today, as Kelly and the state roll out a new last resort insurance program that will allow Coloradans denied by multiple insurance companies to purchase basic coverage to protect a property.
The Colorado Fair Plan is intended to be a market of last resort.
All right, let me pull it up.
Mike Masinko lost his insurance coverage after the Marshall fire.
I would say it was just kind of another stab, right? It's just like, oh yeah, you know, you thought you were all through that stuff, and you know, they kind of reach back from time and stab you again. And it just kind of shows how the system is definitely broken.
He was able to latch on with a new company, but says his premiums have skyrocketed. According to the Rocky Mountain Insurance Association, Coloradans are paying 58% more for coverage than just 5 years ago. and people like Mike are having to fight just to get the coverage.
I feel like the whole point of insurance is to insure your loss in the event of something that you didn't expect.
The program will only provide basic coverage, and it won't be cheap. That's why Kelly hopes people shop elsewhere before coming to her.
We hope we're last on the call list. We really take that seriously, and we really think that the service that we do provide to those people is invaluable.
The state is requiring insurance companies to fund a portion of this program. That could mean higher costs for every homeowner in the state, but they hope it'll serve as an emergency option, one that allows those companies to reduce risk while still ensuring every Coloradan has access to coverage. Kyle?
I mean, hearing the folks talk about this program that they have put together reminds me of when my wife asked me to do a new chore around the house, where I'm like, it's not going to be great, but if I'm the only choice, then fine, I'll do it. I mean, that's how they're talking about their own program.
It's rare to have a salesperson say, please shop elsewhere, but that's what's happening right now. It's expensive coverage. It doesn't have great quality in terms of what you get, so they really want people to use it as a last resort when it comes to finding a policy.
Very interesting. Evan Krugel, thank you very much. The Coloradan picked to lead public land policy for President Trump abruptly withdraws. And I think I know what got her in trouble.
When you're talking about historic preservation, there are always going to be some levels of conflicts.
A historic designation helped Denver purchase an affordable housing complex. And that's the same reason they can't repair it. Whoops. President Trump's pick to lead America's public lands policy is out after getting caught telling the truth. Kathleen Scamma is a longtime oil and gas industry executive from Colorado. She was nominated to lead the Bureau of Land Management to do the drill baby drill thing on America's public lands. But right before a confirmation hearing today, the White House announced her withdrawal. No explanation. I bet it has something to do with the recently surfaced memo she wrote in 2021, where she said the violence of the January 6th insurrection disgusted her, and she called out President Trump for his election rigging lies. Trump's former Interior Secretary seemed to confirm this today, calling her withdrawal self-inflicted, a self-inflicted truth wound that proved fatal to her nomination.
Another beautiful spring day. Sunshine today, less wind, and a temperature of 70 degrees downtown. That's 10 degrees warmer than average. Less wind because yesterday's storm is well east of us, and the next one is days away. Currently, temperatures are still comfortable at 67 in the city, 72 in Lamar. Winds not entirely calm over elevated terrain, but really not an issue for travelers in the high mountain valleys, canyons, and overpasses. The next system will take 48 hours to get here. So ahead of it, winds out of the southwest will push us into the 80s, record territory. With only a few high and mid-level clouds coming in, it's going to be warm and beautiful the next couple days. Kind of an early preview of summer. Temperatures are going to drift slowly into the 50s. The sun sets tonight around 7:32. Your 7-day forecast includes a high, we've been talking about it all week long, 80 degrees tomorrow. 85 would tie the record for the date on Saturday, ahead of a storm that might bring a little rain and snow to the mountains on Sunday. Cooler weather to Denver, and we've got a chance, about a 20% chance of a rain shower Monday. Temperatures then rebound back to the 70s with sunshine for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And because of the warm weather over the next 48 hours, a fire weather watch will be issued for Denver and eastern Colorado on Saturday.
What's the difference between an old building and a historic building? Well, you can fix the broken windows in an old building pretty easily. The city of Denver can't seem to fix the broken windows in its historic building. Hey, a reminder, you can catch Next streaming each weeknight, 6 p.m. on 9 News Plus, and Next is now a podcast. If you want to hear the show but can't stand to look at me, that's your best option. Think of how many people have bought an older home in Denver, then realize, gulp, they've got way more than they can handle in terms of repairs. Now imagine buying a whole building full of homes. Imagine you're the government that did the buying, and now imagine you can't fix the problems fast enough. Sounds like a mess, because it is. Our Spencer Soischer went to Denver's Shattered Glass Palace.
that third window right there.
The wood additions to this old building at 6th and Broadway are not the ones people living here expected.
You're gonna see broken windows just like mine.
Clayton lives in the building. It's run by the Denver Housing Authority, and his window here is like 28 others.
When I moved in, they fixed them all, but this last storm is re-breaking them.
The windows are not performing as they need to in sub-zero temperatures.
Aaron Clark is with the Denver Housing Authority.
We have replaced some, yes.
They bought the building in 2020 and converted it into over 100 affordable housing units. They applied for historic preservation tax credits to help cover the $18 million cost. Now that the building is a federally registered historic place, they're limited on the type of windows they can install and what they can fix them with.
We have double pane glass there, and when it's warm on the inside and below zero on the outside, some of them have found to be cracking essentially in on each other. But we are actively working on a permanent replacement plan for all of those windows so that we do not experience this going forward.
They think the replacement windows will run them another $3.5 million.
Yes, we have to maintain a certain look of the building, but we're also looking to match that to sustainability that we need today.
You'll see that tape in the middle?
It's an ongoing balance between preservation and providing adequate housing to people who need it.
It's all part of God's plan. We live here. We got to survive the best way we can.
The Housing Authority says the people living there won't have to pay for the fixed windows. DHA already replaced some of them, but there have been more than the 29 that we saw today. They say they haven't had issues most recently because of the change in the weather, though.
It's so interesting you've explained this because I think a lot of people pass that and they're like, it's not looking great. So what, they're going to fix it by the end of the year, but you know, I'm no calendarologist, but there are some cold months between now and the end of the year.
Yeah, October gets pretty cold, November, December. You hope they fix it before then, or else they're about to fix even more than they already have to fix.
Very interesting. Well, we can all track the progress.
Yes, it's true. You can see exactly what's happening.
Just drive on by and take a look. All right, Spencer, thank you very much. We will be back with your feedback next. This just says you suck. That's all. Okay. Bunch of questions tonight about the new gun control law just signed by Democratic Governor Jared Polis today. This is the one that is going to require people to pass a gun safety course, an in-person course, and to get a card from their county sheriff in order to own certain semi-automatic weapons with detachable magazines. Jim writes in to say, I was wondering how the classes people have to take for owning those certain guns applies to those of us who have hunter safety cards or who have served in the military. Can you explain that, Jim says? So based on my understanding, Jim, if you have already passed Hunter Ed, then the number of hours of training required drops from 12 to 4, but you would still need 4 hours of training. I don't see any carve out for folks who have previously served in the military. I'm not 100% sure about folks who are currently serving. Somebody else texts in to say, what if you already have a concealed carry permit? I see no carve out for people who have CCLs. I think you'd have to go through the full training. Great questions. Keep them coming. See you next time.